This is the Beyond the Basics reference guide for math kind of course. And this is just the introduction to let you know what to expect in this series. Episode 1. So this is just the introduction. What we're going to do is talk about what the purpose of this series is, what you need for the series, and talking about memory and its connection to actual physical handwriting and not typing or clicking. And then we're going to construct the table of contents for our reference guide. This series can be used in a lot of different ways. It really just depends on you. You could be a student, you could be a teacher, you could be a parent. The first thought, it's going to be a review of the basic concepts in preparation for studying Algebra 1 and beyond. So it's sort of like a pre-algebra course, but not in the traditional sense. I've taught pre-algebra my entire career of 26 years, and I've taught Algebra 1 for 6 years. Truly the things that you need to understand Algebra 1 are what's going to be in this course. You could use this as a public school course or a homeschool course from anywhere from 5th grade to 7th grade, maybe even 8th grade. It really just depends on what your goals and your purposes are. You could also just use this series as how-to videos for new teachers who haven't got any background in teaching and they just need to see somebody else do it. Or as a teacher who's just looking for alternative ways to explain things and new approaches, because every teacher needs to watch other teachers. First of all, you're going to need to have a journal or a composition notebook, 200 pages, which is like 100 sheets. Anything like this would do, and that's the one you see in the picture there. I put a little sticker on it. I will be adding stickers to it as we go. And it just has some lined paper in it. Second thing you're going to need is a pencil, and it can be any sort of pencil. I do recommend erasers. And then some way of adding color to your notebook. Colors really help to guide the eye and help us find patterns, and it also just makes the page way more interesting. I like colored pencils because you have a huge variety of color you can use, and this particular brand you can actually erase too. That's a game changer for me. You'll also need a ruler, and these two are two different kinds of compasses. And I can't seem to find my protractor at the moment, but it's the half circle that has the degree markings on it. Those are all things you're going to need for the geometry section and the measurement section of this notebook. And then you will also need a calculator, however the calculator is optional. Most people don't realize the connection between memory and handwriting. This is just an excerpt from the article that was done in the Scientific American magazine that I looked, and there, if you click on the link, you can go directly to the article. But also as a teacher of 26 years, it is crucial to memory to write things down. And I know this for a fact because in the last 10 years of my career, we ordered some what are they called? Consumable math books, where the kids would just write in blanks, but not write out the whole thing. And I discovered that their ability to remember what was in the chapter plummeted. So I ended up, by October of that year, stopping using the fill-in-the-blank notes of the chapter, going back to a composition notebook, having them write every example, every definition, and every diagram explaining it, because the act of writing it down yourself takes up so much more of your brain, makes so many more connections, that it is much, much easier to remember it than just filling in a blank. Now we're going to create a table of contents, and the purpose of a table of contents is just to let you know what's going to be in the book. So this series is going to have, I'm not sure how many videos yet, but there are 7 different parts. Not really units, but kind of parts. The first part is rational numbers. We're going to look at the whole rational number system. Decimals and fractions and integers will also be a part of that. The second part will be measurement. Measurement is one of the most mathematical things that everybody does. You measure things if you're cooking or if you're building things, you have to measure. You're measuring time, money, all of those are types of measurements. Converting from one unit to another, understanding and the degrees of an angle, how wide an angle is. Those are all forms of measurement, and every single one of them uses math. It's also the biggest connection to science is the measurement part, because you cannot study science or biology or chemistry or geology or anything without some form of being able to measure what you're studying. The third unit is equations, expressions, and unknowns. Because once you understand the basics of math, understanding how you go backwards when you don't know one or more parts of what you're trying to put together, or of solving it using various methods of solving equations. The fourth unit is ratios and percentages, and there's so many connections with ratios and everything we do. And ratios are a way of comparing to a simpler mathematical known, comparing that to an unknown and making it in much more simple terms. The fifth unit is geometry, and we will be looking at two-dimensional shapes and three-dimensional shapes and understanding what the word dimensional means. We'll kind of graze over 0 dimensions and 1 dimensions in order to get to 2 and 3 dimensions. And I'll kind of mention the fourth dimension because I think that stuff is fascinating. And then we're going to use those figures and we're going to measure their area, their perimeter, their volume, and other aspects like angle measures of those geometric shapes. Part 6, we're going to look at data, variation, and statistics. Something that I think has largely been misunderstood for a long time. In fact, I only recently, probably 5 years ago, was at a conference and in a workshop where a professor from a college was teaching about variability and what that has to do with mean, median, and mode, and how you know which mean, median, or mode is best used to describe the data that you are presenting. I had never heard that before. I knew how to calculate it all, but I had never understood the why. And we're going to take a deep dive into the why. And part 7 is probability, simulations, and models. And those are very closely connected with statistics. In fact, in order to understand probability, you have to understand how to record your statistics. We might look at some game theory and things like that, but in general, this is going to be our Beyond the Basics course, those 7 parts. And that's the beginning. Our next episode, we will dive right into rational numbers and what the rational number system is.